Alien Silo Discovery. Fictional sci-fi series. Silo was inspired by a real claim. Silo, the film? Giza, new updates see below. It comes with a UFO Sphinx landing secret and a star map. I want this work to be seen with what I've found at Giza, because it all ties together. And these scans we're going to look at just very briefly because there's not enough information. But the most important thing is how it fits in with the Sphinx, what's below the Sphinx, what's in the Great Pyramid, the whole pyramid layout, the human code that's in this area, and more. So let's begin. A team of researchers have made a very, very big claim, and at first I thought it was fake because there's so many people attacking it. And then I started thinking, I know why they're attacking it, because there's probably a lot more going on here. But what they show in this image are 8 silos, hollow, massive areas below the size of the Khafre pyramid. This is the middle one. There's the Great Pyramid, the middle one. 5 inner chambers as well, claiming at the bottom with these linking areas, which I've shown very basically just in my sketch. And they say that these cylinders have actual spiral staircases around them. This is what made me realize, gosh, this is something functional and something involved with the beginnings of civilization. If we arrived on this earth and colonized it at a very, very tumultuous time when the earth had a very heavy bombardment period and it needed an underground safe beginnings while this passes and the earth becomes more habitable. So they show a scan that looks something like this with patterns where they've noticed, and lots of sort of angular lines. You'll see here some angular lines. Okay, now the problem is this whole situation needs more scientists and rescanning. Remember, these are from satellites, so they need to have other teams involved to cross-reference and check if these scans are the same, show the exact overlays. This is all probably going to happen if they are not attacked by the elite, to prove what they claim, that there's an underground ancient city here. So I'm just going to show in this video how my work fits all around this, because I'm one that supports the Sphinx as being the landing place of the ancients. I'll show you now. In this underground area obviously would connect to a massive underground area if they had the technology to imagine making these giant silos. And there's another whole big area underneath it as well. This is the team involved. You can come back and look at the links at the end of the video. You can press pause and read a bit about them. But for now, there's just too much blocking what they have found. So we can't really analyze exactly and prove anything, but just watch developments. So I'm saying it, this whole story comes with a UFO Sphinx landing secret, and I found it on an ancient papyrus, and of course the star map. The whole thing fits in with an ancient star map. It also fits in with what else they found in the Great Pyramid. Same type of scanning technology, another chamber, and what you need to know is discovered in that Great Pyramid. Then it comes also with the human code being part of Giza. I'm going to show just a brief preview of it in this beginning of this video, but I'll show all my work on ancient Egypt that follows this discovery claim. And then of course all the pyramids of ancient Egypt, matching the stars with the exit marks, the spot, is part of explaining who they are and where they come from. So there's basically 4 pieces we're going to just cover in this introduction, and the biggest part of all. What's so important about this whole thing is because it's all counting down to first contact. The visitors have left an alien message with the human code, that code, and they've left it at the Atlantis site, and they've given an exact date. So all of this is going to make sense in context. Start with the papyrus I'm going to look at. There it is, dome, 3 legs, a flat area with colored light radiating from it, the womb of Nutus, the place of the utterance of where the ancients originate, with a sun-like star, beginnings of life, cosmic serpents, 3 dots in a row, vertical life being given to the earth as humanity from the womb of this area of stars that they personified as Nut. And where the toes touch one horizon, the fingers touch the other, but the toes touch with the leg of the bull, which is in this area, which is going to be explained in the video in this video that follows. And first arrival. There's the wild duck of Osiris statue that was for this statue, and the dream stele as its title. This is the Sphinx at Giza. And if you didn't know, the back part of the Sphinx is flat. Now if it were rounded originally, it would have eroded very rounded, because water would just take those corners off far more. But it's always been flat because it's a landing platform. And there was once a door behind the head, and I'll show that in this video. This is probably what it looked like in the beginning. It was in a green Egypt. The visitors landing on the back, the door, the access through below the Sphinx to the Hall of Records, the Hall of Amenti. And this area here, yes, they've made a little bit of a hole, like digging into solid rock there. There's nothing at the back. Yeah, but it's under the front part where the access goes through the staircase. So that's all covered in this video, how this all happened and what it would have looked like in the beginning and how it all fits together with all other ancient records. So that's the Sphinx landing. Now, let's have a look at the Great Pyramid. This is the previous scan that was done earlier in November 2017. They claimed there was another reflecting area of air. Remember, these radar scans pick up air trapped areas in solid rock. So it kind of matches that staircase. If there's an entrance down here, it's quite likely instead of going down to get to the king's chamber, it would be straight along and into the second area to get to what I believe is a Stargate chamber. And I'll tell you why we reason that. I go through all the ancient artifacts. It's built up in this video. I'll explain more on the Shen artifact with a lotus conduit opening. It represents the cosmic serpent dragon portals shown here as well, holding the symbol for it, and 3 sun-like stars, probably depicting this. I'll explain all that. And then we look at this depiction of the device beneath a angled ceiling. These look like very big cables supplying it. Tutankhamun puts his stamp on it, the bird to symbolize founding civilization, creation, the Eye of Horus, cosmic serpent from the Eye of Horus, cosmic serpent from the bird, and cosmic serpents from the actual device active. This device that's mounted on a base. Now, let's have a look what they found when they went through this area here. The camera was inserted and they made this image available. What's at the end of the passage? It looks kind of circular. I have enhanced it. This is my own processed image. This is taken into account in my video called the Alpha Omega Taurus Stargate and my book to explain what's beneath that vaulted ceiling. And then from the pyramid of, that's the Great Pyramid now. Remember, this is the Khafre pyramid. This is the middle one. Then we go to the human code found at Giza. Human code geometry. Taking the most important geometry from the 3 corners. Ask any scholar, they'll tell you that's the most important geometry. Take now those 2 corners that align and take the Sphinx and the Kenkhaus pyramid. The human code, I'll show in great detail how I extracted very carefully, matches the other star map that I found in the Senma tomb that explains the Orion deity. See the Orion shaped clothing above the shoulders, a rod. This is not a spear, this is not a weapon, this is a rod showing the way in a very awkward way, because that is how the human code fits with the Giza pyramid, showing the way in the sky to the place of our ancestors. They show the leg of the bull. They put the 3 stars inside it as well, probably with Orion's belt, showing that he is the Orion man that shows the story that explains the arrival of the deities from the leg of the bull, bull crown, follow through Atlas Pleione, sun-like star. This is the circumpolar symbol for a sun of the night. These are stars, a sun of the night, and this beam of light that comes down to earth. And you'll see all the gods at the bottom of this in the tomb. There is Serket stretching the rope, the cosmic conduit to our sun, which is seen in Scorpio. I'll show you how we reason all that as well. Now, looking at the plateau, this is where the scan has detected the silos beneath this pyramid. There's more here. Think of the old water level when they built it. It was right up high. So these cylinders, giant cylinders, silos, would have to process water management that seeps through. Now, if that were a place to live in, a very first colonization event in a very tumultuous time. That makes sense because that water is being filtered as well through the stone, and they would consume it as fast as it filters through. So it could be some sort of a, just like the film Silo, some sort of original first, let's call it a colonial settlement to prepare for the earth when it survives whatever cataclysm it was undergoing that caused the Great Flood. Okay, so that's the human code. Now we get to the pyramid part of it, how it fits in with the story, showing who they are and where they come from. I'll show in this video the entire dissection of my star map, how each area fits, and comparing with close-ups of the stars, how the exit marks the spot is right in the middle. It's the Sun Temple at Abstain. This is the area of Memphis. The first great Egyptian civilization was built around here. And of course Giza has the human code in it. We'll go through all that in my video here today. I'm going to include the Dendera star map as well. There is the leg of the bull. There's Taurus looking back at its leg behind its back. Adam and Eve type situation where it's a male and female. The male's got the bull horns. There's a bit more going on here, and of course the star of the ancestors. And our sun being in position in front of Scorpio, as Sir Ket showed. Great detail of this in the video. So here we have the star map, Sirius through Orion, through the bullseye. Remember the legend of shooting the arrow through the bullseye probably started here. There's the leg of the bull. There's the star of the ancestors on the back of the bull. I'll show all that in this video. And then of course the first contact part of it. How are we relating all of this to a countdown to the 2nd of August 2027? Well, you have to understand my whole story about Atlantis when I'll show in this video the ground zero position of it. The Atlantis port city is right here. Spain and Portugal was once separated by the ocean. An impact event hit the Ice Age period around about 10,800 years ago. It hit the North Pole area. It caused a deep penetrating impact event that uplifted the ocean here. All that ocean's got to go somewhere. And the land's mass, the weight, it slid down with the movement as well. It was uplifted here. I'll go through all that detail. But of course it's very green Egypt, isn't it? And there is that port city where I show that these are the fingerprints of the two big circular canals. The mines are here. Everything is here. And of course I've got a book for it and a video. You'll see this thumbnail in the video section. You can go straight to the Atlantis story or in the 2-hour documentary. So this is the area of those rivers. Okay, you can see the remnants of that middle part would be the island. This would be the remnants of the outer part, flows into the sea. Okay, so those are the two original canals that were there, manufactured by our first human ancestors. But of course with the biblical flood event and the movement of this landmass, the distortion and the mud overflow leaves us with what we left back to being all these remnants of the low area where the water basically reflowed back over again. But look at this 5-kilometer square area here in the middle. While the world waited and watched for the Maya prophecy arrival of the star visitors in 2012, in late 2011 this happened. While I was surveying this area, you won't believe what suddenly appeared when I refreshed my Google Earth page. Boom. A giant 4-kilometer wide geoglyph of Orion rising and setting, shown with a swastika and a Templar cross effect and a computer code. And this is the big part of this video. As you get towards the end of it, I'll explain everything, how I got this human code geometry and how I decode the 2nd of August 2027 from a computer code when the ancients will be returning. Now, I think these researchers need to be given some time. Let other scientists come in and cross-reference their findings. And they can show with a lot more conclusion. These are not just grand conclusions. So I know they're taking a bit of a chance showing these conclusions, but there's a lot more going on here, and it fits in with my full story as we count down to the return of the visitors, 2nd of August 2027. You need to understand this whole thing because everybody is going to be affected by this.
So what we're looking at really is the north and the south alignments, and this north alignment is the one I say is with the Big Dipper. But what is the south scan? On every Earth rotation, it's a scanned field of a ring of stars around the Earth, viewed with alignments. So there's the pyramid in Africa. We are measuring celestial pole with one, and it's the southern shaft that scans around the Earth every 24 hours. You won't believe what pyramids it scans. Here's a graphic. It's scanning an area that is below the Milky Way when Ursa Major was aligning with the pole star. So that's a whole different set of stars. Sirius is there, Orion is there, Taurus is there, the Pleiades especially align with the star shaft in one rotation every day of the year. Now, the question is my theory correct? Is this the 50 pyramid layout plan in Egypt, matching the star shafts? 1/3 of it is shown here from Sirius to the Pleiades, and that's 1/4, and this is the other 3/4 scan as you go past the Pleiades through Andromeda, Pegasus, Altair, Achernar, Canopus, and then back to Sirius. It is all there. All the pyramids match that layout. It's a 360-degree layout from Sirius, Giza pyramids as Orion. The Sun Temple is the X marks the spot right in the middle of the pyramid field.
If the pyramids represent stars, alongside the River Nile, representing the Milky Way, then could this star shaft alignment be revealing which stars are chosen for their counterpart pyramids? It most certainly could, and here are the alignments. Would we find the X that marks the spot correlation, the star of the gods? At Abu Sir, we have a possible correlation. It was once a cluster of 7 pyramids that Herschel believes looked like this. In a far greener Egypt, after a great cataclysm. Pyramids built to correlate with the Pleiades, and one special sun star. The site was also situated closest to the first city of Egypt, called Memphis. Today, there might still be the remains of 2 pyramid foundations, lying under sand.
Now let's continue checking and testing the remaining 3/4 scan of correlations south of Abu Sir. The correlation matches are an absolute match. Looking at the complex Andromeda constellation, as outlined here in astronomy, size correlations again are a match. Two of the largest stars correlate with 2 of the largest pyramids. Memphis, its first city, would obviously be built next to its most sacred monuments. Here is where we prove the X marks the spot correlation. At the epicenter of the pyramid field, we have the giant gold-capped Sun Temple obelisk near Abu Sir. The obelisk that correlates with a very specific sun star.
Up until now, we have believed the Sphinx of Egypt was the ultimate monument with the pyramids. But for something else. The real ultimate monument was the only gold-capped structure on record. It had a celestial ship landing platform. However, what has been missed is what the winged disk of the gods really looked like.
Let's begin, firstly with a simplified version of the Egyptian Genesis papyrus. The down-pointing triangulation of 3 sun stars next to the Pleiades was seen as the womb of the star goddess Nut. Legend claims the earth was also personified, like Nut, but as a green god, called Geb. His male anatomy, on the horizon shares the stars of Orion's belt, as he fertilizes Nut. This is where Nut births the sacred sun star, Sol 1 primary. The Holy Grail legend, you will soon see, is based on this history where the chalice represents the celestial womb of 3 suns, and the blade, or stem, represents the male anatomy of Orion's belt, in celestial union.
It is from this special birthed sun that our ancestors set out in their celestial ship. Traveling down what looked like a beam of light, their craft landed on a raised platform, safe from lions in the area. Now let's piece together the components of the real papyrus record in tune with the narrative sequence. Nut is personified as the cosmos full of stars. Her fingers and toes touch the earth, from horizon to horizon. From her womb the utterance identifies a sun star, where 3 vertical stars in a row of Jeb align and establish all life from this sun star. The leg of the bull, the place of the gods, touches her toes to narrate the story of the gods landing on the flat back of the Sphinx. It is the Sphinx of Giza, because it has the dream stellar crown above its head, and the waldak headdress of the Osiris statue that was in front of it.
The celestial ship, radiating multicolored light, landed on the Sphinx landing platform. The image next to it now explains the celestial ship, with a double wormhole, as it flies with its own terra firma line, sketched in above the ground. Behold, the real Jed Ankhshiraf papyrus, from the Cairo Museum. This interpretation of ancient records might sound far-fetched, if it was not backed up by other ancient records. The thing is, the landing on the Sphinx has multiple records. The Sphinx was so sacred in the human Genesis legend, the ancient Egyptians wanted to show both sides, in one image but had great difficulty in doing so.
Here is how the ancients came to agree how the Sphinx should be on record. A double Sphinx was the solution. No wonder Egyptologists became skeptics. There are many king tomb records of Zep Tepi, as they show the ship landing and going inside the Sphinx. Some show a cross-section through the flying disc as well, and how the cosmic serpent conduit is what it traveled on and through. Some records celebrated the ship radiating light, with a bright feathered banner on a pole, to carry in processions. It was not an actual fan to call a king at all. It was placed impaled on models of the Sphinx, that also had a chamber of knowledge shown beneath it. Here is a close-up analysis of the ceremonial banner. It has Horus as its occupant, with his sun star as a crown. The Sphinx has a flat back, and what looks like a door filled in with concrete, that is on record as possibly the oldest concrete record on Earth. Let's recreate Egypt's first time when the Sphinx was built.
The entire area of over 40 feet of valuable limestone no doubt became the source of blocks needed to build the pyramids of Giza. In its earliest epoch, it was functional, as a raised celestial ship landing platform, out of reach of roaming lion. It had a door, to the legendary underground Hall of Records. But the green rainy period would end after the effect of the Earth cataclysm we are about to explore. The spreading deserts soon encroached the Nile. Soon, the visits by the advanced ancestors ended.
Khufu the reigning king wanted the damaged Sphinx to have his face. Then more drought cycles would follow, and the pyramids became nothing more than a source of blocks for temple building. One day, Tutmosis, while sleeping under the hollow Sphinx head, heard a voice. The voice was most likely the star visitors, worried the weight of the wet sand would cause the Hall of Records to collapse. The star visitors possibly removed sacred objects and left. The terrible cyclic droughts returned, the sand burying all the sacred sites beyond management. The Sphinx saw the end of a great empire. Thousands of years followed until we see it as it is today.
In 2005, authors Wayne Herschel and Birgit Lederer explored the Senmit tomb. Inside, hidden in plain sight, is the definitive sealing record of the gods founding Egypt. Horace Soker as Orion Man shows the way to the leg of the bull star cluster, which then shows the way to the tiny sun star in the night sky. Goddess Circuit stretches a cord representing the wormhole conduit to our solar system, and seen once again with a scorpion. Wayne suddenly realized Scorpio might be the view of where our local sun is seen when viewed from the Pleiades. It is true. We need one more clue to decode all the secret symbols here. The UK's CERN Abbas giant in Dorset is Orion Man. But unlike the encoded secret rod, or his belt showing the way, it is his male anatomy.
Now the mural comes full circle. A line joins the phallus symbol with Orion Man. The mystery is decoded. The dot and circle symbol origin is revealed. The sun symbol denotes any sun with a planet, either alien or not. Wayne Herschel has decoded many ancient symbols for suns, but never ever, not for one moment, did he realize he would include this star map connection with the origins of Christmas itself. The conical beam of light from the sun star that we are about to see repeat in multiple cases might be one of the lost teachings of the Christ, actually celebrating human origins from a star that is also his star. The conical beam of light from our origin star, Wayne believes, is the Christmas tree tradition, celebrating our human origins from a sun-star system. Long before the Christ celebrated December the 25th, the ancient Romans celebrated this unconquered sun on this day, called Sol Invictus.
Civilization 1 Atlantis spread throughout the area that's highlighted to Sumer, into civilization Egypt, Inca and the Maya all seem to have those same features. They're all connected ancient civilizations from ground zero, the origin of Atlantis. There's the Sumerian Kuduru, the Genesis stone that we say comes from here. Now, I'd like to credit Muhammad Ibrahim here, his latest finding of the utterance that defines Orion's belt. These are the spoken words. Sa, Ha are these two collections of pictoglyphs, hieroglyphs that come from ancient pictures. Now, all I'm adding to this is what these pictoglyphs origins have with this Orion's belt utterance. I'm also taking into account, obviously, Robert Bauval's Orion belt Giza theory. I take the star map in a whole new direction, showing all the other pyramids, there's 50 of them, make a complete star map with the exit marks the spot Sun Temple as the place of the gods in the 2-hour documentary. But let's have a look at this makeup. Obviously, now I'm comparing it to the Sumerian Kuduru because there's something very similar here. don't know if you notice it immediately. Orion's belt, Utterance, has these symbols. Is it possible now? This will prove the weakest part of that stone to date that scholars say isn't conclusive enough to be Orion's belt. Well, let's put it to the test now with Egyptian records. Obviously, we're looking at the 3 belt stars of Orion as that title. So it's 3 stars having that title. In the beginning of the story, we have a folded, they called it a folded cloth, and the papyrus and the writing on papyrus. But there's a little bit more going on here, because the folded cloth is a very gentle fold. Okay, it makes the spoken word s, but why is it shown like this? And there's another part to play with the papyrus, the writing. Papyrus drying rack would have looked like that, so that it does not crease and the papyrus can dry as it is wrapped between cloth. This now takes it on a whole new direction, because we have folded cloth with papyrus and writing on papyrus. It's a way of saying it is written, if those two are on their own, pictographically speaking. Then of course we have the bird symbol, which I've discovered in many other ancient civilizations shows to found civilization. Then we have this one, which is supposed to be just a twined bit of leather or something. I think it's a lot more. I'm sure it's coming to your mind immediately. What does that look like? Human DNA. And this is the evidence to verify that it is human DNA. Origins of the gods, born of the Tauret hippo goddess. This is where the gods apparently come from this birthing goddess. And the human code tied to the leg of the bull, which we know is the 7 stars of the Pleiades, with a sun-like star behind the bull's head, representing the Pleiades. And of course we have Orion represented by Horus Sakar, showing the way to the bull in Taurus, the bull's leg, Pleiades. That is the human DNA part of it. So that's that one. Now we have the 3 flags on 3 poles. 3 flags and 3 poles. In ancient Egyptian history, they marked out the pyramids using, like any surveyor would, with a pole with flags on it. Their pylon temples were decorated with flags on poles as well, usually 3. But an Egyptian stela from Queen Mernith actually takes the Sumerian artifact a lot further. Remember, these are 2 different lands here. One has the, what I think are pair of dividers, or the alpha symbol that is for Taurus. Where that comes from is a bit of a long story, but I need to recap on it. That the Apis bull is the Aleph, which is the alpha. How did we get to that? And remember, there's the bullseye story. So you have Sirius, Orion, the 3 kings personifying those 3 stars, going in that direction. It goes to the other side of the stone object. So we turn the stone stela around, and on the back of it we have the Omega. And there, I flipped it around, you can see it there. There's where the Pleiades and the 3 sun stars are. So what we have from scholars is that the Apis bull is the origin for the alpha symbol, the Aleph, that became the alpha symbol. And all I'm saying is that it's Taurus, the bull. You see how it's tilted like that? That's why that is shown tilted. It's the bull, and its ears there and its horns. This is how the utterance comes into play in the book of Revelation, when the cosmic messenger says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. He's saying he's from the Taurus Stargate. That man holding 7 stars is literally saying he is from the Taurus Stargate. So he's showing where his 7 stars originate from. And look carefully behind his head. The halo, as in ancient records, they show the man that's personified as Orion man has this sun star halo crown. That's that star map. It's in position behind the Pleiades like that. And that, I believe, is going to take place, guess when? 2nd of August 2027, according to the message. That's 4 kilometers wide at the ancient site of Atlantis. So let's take it into a little bit more detail now. It has these little crosses added into it. Don't know what they are, nails or something. But it does emphasize the Orion connection here. That's basically the Orion part of Sirius, Aldebaran, and of course the Orion constellation. So we have a little bit more at play here. This base that these 3 pillars are placed upon. I think it is a belt, an actual belt, because remember, this is the utterance of Orion's belt. And how I take it further is those 3 orbs there seem to be showing exactly the same as the Orion man on the Inca artifact. He's wearing an Orion belt to show he is Orion man, who is the cosmic teacher, who is, in my opinion, the man that was known as Yeshua ben Yusuf, that we call the Christ. He was also teaching of his star, the Bethlehem star, same star. So basically we have now the star in contention now, so it's reading from left to right in this case. The star, and then of course the Neturu, the gods, star of the gods. That's pretty simple, but now the breaking finding is the whole thing as an utterance. That's Orion's belt, but pictographically speaking, it's saying, it is written, the founding civilization of human lineage follow 3 sacred markers of Orion's belt to find the star of the gods. That is a star map in its own way. It's just a theory. Is it a coincidence? But pictographically, if that's how they made these little pictographs that became spoken word, they are showing the story pictographically, what's important about Orion's belt. And of course, follow the 3 belt stars of Orion. There's the star of the gods through the bullseye. That's no coincidence that you shoot an arrow to find a bullseye target. That's where it originated from. And of course, I take the star map into a whole new direction, showing the original Orion's constellation, and the exit marks the spot with 50 pyramids in Lower Egypt. That's all in the 2-hour documentary. So we have an Egypt connection with Sumer, matching 3 markers with flags, and then the orbs. Big deal. They put the orbs on top of the pole here, and there it's shown beneath the poles with a belt, Orion's belt. As I said, Atlantis used the alien message with ellipses. The Inca Golden Star Map uses ellipses for the 3 suns. That is just an ancient way, perhaps, of showing important stars. So, let's look at the star map just quickly. So we have the dog star Sirius in the star map, okay? So that is the 1 star. Then you have the 3 Orion's belt stars personified by 3 kings. Remember, it's a double story, telling it twice, just as it does on the other side of the stone. It tells the story in 2 different ways. To Aldebaran. So that's the main star map. It's showing the way to what? Follow the other side of the stone. I've flipped it over now. Here is where the rest of the story lies. 3 suns shown in special marking ways with the Pleiades, and we're seeing that whole star map now in that stone. That is part of it. We have the utterance now in Egypt saying, okay, these are the markers that seem to be marking out 3 pyramids, 3 belt stars, as being the most important part. That's the way shower to find the star of the gods, basically that. Now both Sumer and Egypt have that connection. That's just 2 ancient civilizations with that utterance, exactly as we see here. So let's look at it again. So it's Orion's belt throwing the way through the bullseye to that sun-like star. Keep that in mind as we take this further, and why the bull of ancient Egypt had the sun and the crescent of the gods, the exoplanet associated with the leg of the bull that he's pointing to on the back of his, behind his head. Okay, so we have basically the artifact. We have the columns of writing, which I'm going to quickly just have a peek at here. Go through it very carefully. Press pause and read it carefully. It's speaking about a god interaction with the king of ancient Sumer, the king of Babylon, and they're speaking of gateways, stargates, 2 capped star beings, and how this king had interaction with the gods, and they made him change his ways. He was a revered new law king that issued new laws of humanity, being humanitarian. This is what's happening now in our world. This is a repeated story that's going to take place probably in 2027, where the leaders of our countries who are wanting to be warlike and manipulate humanity are going to be shown the right way, or we all return home. Think about that word. How do we all return home to the tree of life? It's the most terrible thing you can imagine. We are destroying the planet like a disease that has to change now. Our planet is about to be destroyed with global warming, and we are cutting down forests faster than we can replant. So here's a breaking new finding, February 2023. These 3 I need to show all are telling the same story. These are all Genesis records in their own right, but obviously the Sumerian one has the greatest record. The Inca one says exactly the same thing with cosmic serpents, Pleiades, 3 suns. Here we have 3 suns in the Maya Codex Borgia, and the Codex Borbonicus. Show Orion, you can see the belts there, Pleiades, 3 suns, the bird founding civilization, a man in a stargate. Hang on a minute, a picture of a man coming out of a stargate with cosmic serpent. Look at it closely. This is not my wild imagination, look closely at the man coming out the Stargate. Let's take him out of the picture. That's what he's stepping out of. That's what he looks like, holding the ring device, just like the Sumerian artifact. 3-sun crown with little exoplanets on them. Isn't it amazing that this device, they even show it here with blue, like iridescence, like looking at water, just like the movie. They made a very good story to hide fact in fiction. That is the Maya artifact. There's other Maya details showing cosmic serpents coming out of the Stargate, showing what I believe is that. You can come back and look at the close detail just now. Other devices shown on other Maya codices. This particular one showing cosmic serpents connecting to the different gods, and it's mounted on a base. This depiction shows the actual cosmic serpent connection, point of origin from the Stargate to one where it's a point of arrival on Earth. The 2-hour documentary will cover all of these in great detail. The Christ story with a gate, 3 stars of Orion's belt and an exoplanet, and a cosmic serpent dragon. That's all there. Ancient esoteric murals. This is one with a mural of Christ with 3 sun-like stars as his title, that there were 3 sun-like stars. And the Sacred Feminine with Sapientia, with a T being of Taurus, Tau, Homo sapiens. It's just my theory. It's all covered in the 2-hour documentary. So is this. I'm not going to go much into this. It's in the documentary. But this Alpha Omega book is where we take the Stargates into a whole new direction, which has been updated in a new publication that's been updated. So let's go back to the name for Orion's belt. Saha. That's the spoken word. This is how the languages originated in ancient Egypt. But if we had to designate what star type that is, in other words, a sun-like star, you would be able to add a Ra symbol. But then it would read Sahara. Where have we heard that before? The Sahara. Sahara. Is that a coincidence? That the name of the area with the 3 great pyramids, the largest monument on the whole of North Africa, the greatest probably historical reference landmark for the whole of North Africa, that was once green, that became a desert after the Great Flood, was name given to that as a desert. The Arabic name desert is Sahara. I don't think that's a coincidence. Here's another breaking new finding. In Egypt there are 5 different temples that show this utterance, that reveals the source and activity of the Stargates of the gods, that show capped repeating utterances of 2 of them, and one that is active that went in the direction of Scorpio. Think about that. Wow. The Hatshepsut shows a little bit more artistic detail for the capping aspect, which I'll show you how we reason that. The Ramses temple shows a little bit more with the Scorpion, that life was brought to our solar system that resides in Scorpio. Now if you're on a star program looking at where our sun resides, it's right here in Scorpio. We'll show you a graphic for that in a minute. So what we're showing is 2 capped stargates, and then it repeats the utterance of inactive. There's nothing happening with these gates. They're off, they shut down. But there is one active. See that one? The plasma ribbon bursts out. That is the one that shows Scorpio. It's connecting that the gods set out in the direction of Scorpio to find our sun. And that's what it looks like. If you go into a star program, click View from Pleiades, guess where our sun is? Right here. And then of course we've covered that. Now this part in the bottom shows how they ride these cosmic ribbons. The source of all these cosmic ribbon conduits comes from the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is this great light area that I believe I experienced in a near-death experience. I came to this place and wanted to bring it back as a sense of responsibility. This is what is shown in ancient records as well, people being taught about the cosmic tree, and that this cosmic tree is living. Okay, it's the creation of all time, space, matter, and all life. But look at the top part of it. It's showing how the gods traverse the heavens. From this 2 mural of a picture of Horus Sakar riding the cosmic serpents, multi-headed, because obviously there's 3 suns on one side and our sun on the other. But the amazing part of it is that plasma ribbon depiction inside an enclosed object. We've seen it also at Dendera. There's your pillar of life, the tree of life that is living creation energy. It's holding its own self. It's showing that it's made artificially and shown in a big plasma bulb type thing, which is like a plasma ball that scientists have made today, where you can put a large charge in a gas like argon and you'll see these little ribbons. Now this is obviously a very unique plasma ribbon, one that is living energy that comes from the source, the creation. If ever there's a way of defining God creation on earth, it's this living light energy that's like a living cosmic serpent dragon that is conscious energy. So that's basically it. The 2 stargates were capped, 1 active. Now hang on a minute, let's recap on that. So there's the patterns that I've shown. We're going to look closely now at when it's capped. The capping effect takes that effect right there. We're going to show now, compared to Egypt, how obvious they've shown it. First of all, on the Sumerian artifact, it's the 2 capped temples right down there, 1 active with the upside down omega. We have the esoteric manuscript that shows the same thing, crescent, sun, and 1 with a cross, a blazing star, and 2 are capped with the knots and 1 that is active. You'll see that in the 2-hour documentary. And of course the Egyptian one. I look closely at these 2 right here. That's exactly what they're drawing. They're blocking out the sun star and making it just like I've shown here. 3 cases showing 2 capped, 1 active, to 3 suns, 2 that were shut down. 1, the most important one that most of my history reveres, was the last journey of the gods through Stargates. So what we're looking at really is the north and the south alignments, and this north alignment is the one I say is with the Big Dipper. But what is the south scan? On every Earth rotation, it's a scanned field of a ring of stars around the Earth, viewed with alignments. So there's the pyramid in Africa. We are measuring celestial pole with 1, and it's the southern shaft that scans around the Earth every 24 hours. You won't believe what pyramids it scans. Here's a graphic. It's scanning an area that is below the Milky Way when Ursa Major was aligning with the pole star. It's time to look at the Dendera zodiac disk again. It has my ancient alien star map. The stars that I've identified in my star map theory are following the stars of Sirius, through Orion's belt, through the bullseye, to find the exoplanet and a sun star near the Pleiades. That's the Pleiades right over there. So knowing those stars, the Dendera disk shows Sirius with this little Horus and looks like a fish beneath it. That is the symbol for Sirius, scholars have agreed. Orion, there you can see his clothing makes that hourglass shape for the stars of Orion. That has been decoded by scholars. In the bull, very straightforward, a bull looking back at something very important. And we all know that behind the bull's back is the area of the Pleiades and these 3 sun-like stars. So what is the bull looking at on the Dendera disk? It needs more space. They seem to have taken an enlargement and they've put it right in the middle of the Dendera disk because it's so important. I always enlarge these areas when I'm showing the bull because they're just too small for the detail to be seen. It's a Genesis pictographic story that follows to explain the seeding of Earth with the people of the Tauri and arrival. It shows the first male, first female, right next to the star of the gods. There it is right there. So we're going to see this on the Dendera zodiac disk. But what they fill in next to it is what got scholars being anti that the leg itself was representative of the Pleiades. They put in another constellation, and we'll see what they put there. Right at this point here is the center of the sky above the north Polaris star, the pole star, where the axis of the Earth aligns with. So that got it all very confusing to put anything like the Pleiades next to that point. But it's because of the importance. There's the Dendera zodiac disk. Here's what we're looking at. Here's what they put as a constellation, Bootes. The plow symbol is there as well, and next to the Pleiades symbol. Right there you can see the detail. There's a cleaver and there's the plow. Now what does that mean? Well, first of all, it's called the zodiac disk for a very simple reason. There are all the zodiac signs in order going anti-clockwise from Taurus, Aries, Pisces. We'll go through that just now. Then we have the deacons, which are stars that rise on the horizon every 10 days, looking in the east, in Egypt. Not important right now. This is the part that's caused the problem, because we have a North Pole, we have a Northern Pole star area of Bootes, but what is the Pleiades in this area? What's it doing in this area if it is the Pleiades? And of course the extra part is what I think are the stars that the star shaft of the Great Pyramid align with, which are the same pyramids, 50 of them, that make the stars of these areas. That is my theory. Okay, there it is. There's the star map that I've made very well known. Follow the Pleiades, leg of the bull, to find the star of the gods. First male, first female. It's like an Adam and Eve story, Genesis of Egypt. Taweret, they called her. She's there. There's Taurus the bull looking back at his leg. There is Orion. There is Sirius. Okay, so we have this following. Oh, if that is Sirius, it might even be a binary star confirmed here, because they have two stars there. Follow through Orion's belt through to Taurus. He looks back on what's on the back of his area of the bull's neck, right? So there it is, right? He's looking at that area. And this is the area that they've enlarged and got everything confusing, putting it above the North Pole star area. But to fit on the zodiac disc was the most important Genesis theme tied in with this. This is why it's been added here, because it's part of an explanation of a Genesis theme. Just to recap, there's Taurus, Pleiades behind the bull's neck. Okay, he's looking back behind his back, all right? So he's looking at that leg constellation. It's like he's turning his head. And of course Orion is beneath it, Sirius. So those are all on the Dendera zodiac disc. Now looking at the stars of the North Pole area, the northern constellations, Bootes is known as the hippo, or the herdsman, or the plowman. But these multiple, let's call them legends, have got everything confused. The plow, or the cleaver, is another name for Ursa Major, or the Big Dipper. But it's the plow and the cleaver that are very important. You'll see how it looks like a plow, and the cleaver is the part out of the screen here. There is where the celestial pole aligns with. You can see that looks like a plow. We'll just confirm it for sure. And there is a cleaver as well. This Genesis deity called Taweret is either goddess of childbirth or bringing forth all children to the earth in colonization. We're going to review that very importantly. But she's trying to tell a story holding awkwardly two things over what I believe was the celestial pole, being the Big Dipper. Now that's something completely new as well. There is the center of the Dendera zodiac disc. The plow is in the middle. Okay, more detail. We see now that the leg of the bull is placed in the middle of it. So this is telling the story about the leg of the bull, and it coincidentally suits the stars that are over the North Pole axis. But there's more to Taweret. Taweret is also shown here with what I believe is the human DNA code tying to this leg of the bull, teaching about the Genesis story. She is teaching about Genesis. And Orion is shown here following his stars of his belt to this leg of the bull, bull crown, okay. 7 stars, okay, and a sun star behind the head. And it is the leg of the bull as the Pleiades. I've shown from one coffin lid here. Look at the star match. Another coffin lid just shows it generally, but it's the most important part of the heavens to the ancient Egyptians, spoken of as the 7 eternal stars. So there we have it. Okay, so looking now at the detail around that leg of the bull, it has 7 components in all. This is quite amazing. And Taurus looking back at itself, these names are for the 7 stars, in my opinion, of Taurus. We also have 2 other stars. We have a trinity, a solar trinity taking place here. Looking closer at this area as well, you'll see just now the detail above here. There's even more story down here. But yes, I'm sure it's the leg of the bull as the Pleiades. The man wears the bull crown. The female, which is also the constellation Virgo on the zodiac aspect, shows the star on his staff with a bull above it and the bird on top of it, Horus, to found civilization. There are those 3 sun-like stars right there, in my opinion, and the bull looking back at his leg that has been severed. Our sun, I believe, is down here on the ecliptic because it's on the zodiac path with its position when viewed from the leg. In other words, viewing from the Pleiades, the sun is in the pincers of Scorpio. Now the cleave is pointing down to the Genesis deities down here, first male and first female. There's a clue already with that alone. It's not just the leg that shows the way to the star. Maybe the cleaver with a very large arc in the sky does the same thing. We'll measure that as well. There's the zodiac disk. Let's go right in now to all the zodiac stars: Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, then Scorpio, Libra, Virgo, Leo, Cancer, Gemini. Now, to have all these exactly the same as they are today, scholars are just shrugging their shoulders and saying, well, perhaps it just got passed down and we didn't realize it. But there's another bit here. There's the sun, as I said, in the pincers of Scorpio, and I think our moon is shown on the zodiac because they're all on the ecliptic. And the 7 names for the 7 stars, I believe, incorporates the bull. So if there's any question, okay, the scholars say yes, Taurus, okay, fine, a bull is Taurus. This bull symbology in the whole of ancient Egypt is Taurus because it's part of the naming of this leg, which is a bull's leg and tied to the actual bull itself. Okay, let's have a little bit closer look at some details. There's a Stargate aspect to its design as well. I believe it's looking at a window through the Stargate device, and the address being at the middle of it. If it's a window to the most important part of the stars and the Genesis story, we have standing in the west situation where we are the viewer looking in an easterly direction and north and south to the sides. Now there's a quite important clue there, because if that's true, it's on the horizon. It's measuring this Genesis star rising on the horizon. And we can measure on a star program that angle and see if it really is the Pleiades. And that is what we're going to measure. And here is our star program, confirmed. Looking in an easterly direction on the horizon at Christmas Day, I think it is, yes, Christmas Eve. That is the star constellation angle. It's an exact match. So we have now more proof of it being the Pleiades. But here's the breakthrough. That is the little window we're looking at. Standing in the west, looking east, Pleiades, 3 sun-like stars, 2 that are very important in most of my star maps. The third one has a lot of movement. This one is moving at a heck of a pace through the Pleiades area. 10,000 years ago, it was around about, 100,000 years ago, it was in this position. That's where it is today. And what do we have on the first degree tracing board? The same 7 stars and the same angle above the horizon. It seems to be an exact match. So Dendera matches the first degree tracing board with those stars. Now there's a second legend of Genesis where instead of Taweret they use the goddess Nut, and her womb is that triangulation, and this birthing of the most important sun star is shown coming from her womb in a separate tradition. This one probably predates the Taweret tradition, because Taweret is a hippo, it's Egypt. It's on Earth. It's probably only about maybe 12,000 years old at the most, but this even predates it from ancient teachings. As above, so below. That's the triangle pointing up, triangle pointing down. The birthed sun star. So, let's have another look at some more detail. Here is where it gets very confusing and why scholars are still in disagreement. That is the Plough constellation as pole star. If that is true, let's see if it is a plough. First of all, there is the traditional Egyptian plough. You can see the similarity. It is a plough. It is the Plough constellation that is being shown here as the pole star. So it's not just showing a general northern constellations around the North Pole area. This really is pointing it right onto the plough itself as above the axis of the Earth. That's the zodiac ring of stars, and that's where they put the pole star position as the Big Dipper. And then we have our story now teaching about this Genesis. Taweret with this, another symbol for this is the a cleaver, and it's pointing down to that star. So there are two ways to point down. And it's teaching as a herdsman where the leg has been severed from the bull to pull the plow. Think of the wording of what's going on here. Plowing with the herdsman, teaching of the childbirth of humanity. There's something being told here, and this is where we have another breakthrough. Taweret, goddess of childbirth, is plowing to seed what? To seed our solar system with the Tauri human lineage seed. Our sun is next to the star of the gods, which is also very important. There's a time of the year when the two come together, and it's probably measured on a festival, and it's our sun that's being seeded in this Genesis story of Taweret. That's no doubt now that is the DNA code for humanity. That is that symbol, and that is where our sun is viewed from the Pleiades area in Scorpio, which is also amazing. This is also showing how it's kind of showing the way to it. And that's what it looks like on the star program when you view from the Pleiades where our sun is positioned. And of course, goddess Serket shows the little scorpion with the orb on her head as goddess of our sun in this instance. There it is, right there, that point on the plow. Right, now I'm showing this graphic here to show the similarity in the Mithras tradition of severing the leg of the bull. It's with a cleaver. Looking at the star program, there's Bautis, the hippo goddess, Ursa Major, I should say, with the cleaver effect. You can see the cleaver now. Let's just do those details. So there's the cleaver. Now the plow. You can see it's a plow. There it is at Dendera. Now I can understand why they called it a plow. The similarity of that sort of graphic to the Egyptian plow. But now we need to measure what the cleaver is pointing to on the ecliptic. Here's the ecliptic. Here's our very important star area. Our sun passes right next to the star of the gods, as I mentioned earlier. Do you notice something here? There it is. Right there. The cleaver is another means of finding the location of the star of the gods. It's a much bigger arc in the sky. When we look at between Orion and the sun-like star, it's only 33 degrees of arc, okay? But this one is 90 degrees of arc measurement. 90 and 33 degrees of arc. There's Orion there filled in. 33 degrees with dividers and a square. 90 degrees. That sounds very familiar. Okay, so we have Bautis with the cleaver, the leg of the bull. Those parts and components now completely make sense, using this as a way shower to find the star of the gods. Now, precession has a point to add to it as well, because the North Pole wasn't exactly Polaris. It was, as they're showing on the Dendera disk, the Big Dipper. So my point is that the Big Dipper is the point of the area above the axis of the Earth. So here's what scholars have said. You've got this precession wobble. 2,000 years ago, they suggested Thuban in Ursa Minor was the old pole star. I disagree now. I'm saying it's more of an ellipse. You go back in time, probably to 12,800 years ago, before the impact event that started the wobble that I showed in my Atlantis discovery, what ended Atlantis and what caused the Earth to wobble. Ancient alien human origins from Taurus, the Narmer palette, or the Narmer tablet. Let's have a relook at it completely. A pictographic Egyptian Genesis record. There's no textual material here. There are symbols. It's in the Cairo Museum, by the way. It speaks of the first king, Dynasty 1, Zep Tepi, the beginning, the earliest epoch, people from Punt, Atlantis. A bull with a human face. That speaks out very, very, very strongly. It depicts an obsession with its ties to the bull of the heavens. Humans from Taurus. Look at the Gezer tablet. It is also pre-dynastic Egypt. Taurus with 3 suns, the Eye of Aldebaran. It's the star map, completely. Well, let's look at the title of the tablet, the top portion. The bull's heads, 2 bull's heads, but they're not just that ordinary bull's head. The detail explains a Tauri genesis, humanity from Taurus, as you see in the bottom here, that we're going to go through in great detail at the grand conclusion. But the title, Narmer, comes from the catfish symbol and the chisel symbol seen in the sky, a ship, probably that depiction there with the Pleiades, just as it makes the same shape as the leg of the bull. But there's more. Let's look at the next detail. Narmer with his mace to found civilization. In my opinion, it's Narmer being personified by Osiris Orion. I'm convinced Narmer sees himself personified as Osiris Orion, just as you see in the Dendera zodiac mural that is in the main documentary, the 2-hour-plus documentary. But that mace is also seen on the Sumerian Genesis stone, founding our solar system. It's also in the 2-hour-plus documentary. But let's go a bit further. The 2 dragons with entwining necks and controlled by 2 people, I believe, represents the same as the Dama Herob papyrus, a stargate with the sun behind the entity. The Ouroboros makes the stargate. The 2 entities are actually a plasma ribbon, just like you see in the Shen artifact, seeing 3 suns, the initiate going through a stargate. Sounds far-fetched, but wait till you see the other evidence in the 2-hour documentary. The round cartouche. Look at this cosmic serpent plasma ribbon coming out to one of the 3 suns. And of course, the highlight of the Alpha Omega book, the Stargate itself in an inscription. But let's now look at the person standing behind Narmer. The scribe narrating the story. He has a 7-pointed star and a keyhole symbol. I believe it represents a star with the 7 rays of light, like in Mithras, just as we found in the Senma tomb. I believe it is the origin of the Christmas tree. It's found on the Key of Solomon and the Freemason first-degree tracing board. It's all in the 2-hour-plus documentary. Now, looking at the strange eagle landing on the back of what looks like the Sphinx. In my 2-hour documentary, I proved that this papyrus looks like a UFO landing that radiates light, which was celebrated later with a ceremonial fan, a banner, representing this landing of the first ship of the sky. It's just recording 6 events landing on the back of the Sphinx. That's just my opinion. I'm not too sure about the bottom part here. 2 entities, looks like a beam of light from the star and building being founded. Hard to call on that one, but let's continue. Here's the main part, the utterance of Narmer. This is what the tablet's recording. Narmer's proclamation. Mortal descendants of Osiris, a ruler of Lower Egypt, came from the stars. A union between Sol 1, primary, and our sun. That's what I believe it represents. He founded his city, and the terrible part of it, he was very barbaric. He destroyed his enemies. There's also a ship with a cosmic door in front of it, and that's basically talking about the wormhole, in my opinion. Now the best part of all, the bottom right, a bull of Taurus and the god with what I believe is 3 suns in front of his face, and how it connects to the back of the Taurus bull. There are 7 little blocks in there for the Pleiades, in my opinion. There's also a little bit more being shown here. Look how the bull touches the back of the deity, and he touches the front leg of the bull, one of the front legs. But the most important leg is that one there that he is touching, in recognition of the 7 stars of the Pleiades, 3 sun-like stars, the leg of the bull, and that sun-like star right there. It is just like the ceiling mural of the Temple of Dendera. The bull that tells his story. Here we go. That strange symbol on the bull's top part of his thigh is telling a story. That's not a thigh muscle. It's the Osiris Walduck. Osiris as Orion has this weird kind of headdress. And when you put it in that position like a puzzle piece, his face looks down at the leg of the bull. And that's what the bull is trying to tell you to do as well. Look at the leg of the bull and follow it. Now let's look at the rib cage. Three that are spaced equally could be a rib cage. But then when it does this, there's something else happening here. It's literally like a shockwave coming off this leg of the bull to go in that direction. The secret of what this leg of the bull means. It's all about that. The sun that is found on the back of the Taurus area, and of course the sickle crescent. And I explain in astronomy, astronomical stories, the only way you get a sickle crescent is like in an eclipse with the moon and the sun. And in this case, an exoplanet and a sun. You will have this unique sickle-shaped crescent. It does not happen in moon phases at all. So references to this being the moon, it's fake, not true. There's an amazing extra piece of information here with the Osiris Waldock that is shown on the Taurus bull thigh as a way shower to find the Star of the Gods. The hat itself is actually showing the way. It's saying that Orion, if this is the representation of Orion, as we see in the Dendera zodiac disc, Orion was Osiris with his Waldock, as you follow from Sirius, double binary star, through the belt of Orion, through to Taurus, and then the Taurus bull is turning his head to look at what is on the back of the bull, and then they enlarge it on the Dendera disc. That's a whole story on its own in my 2-hour documentary. So Osiris is actually showing the way to the Star of the Gods. So it's either using Orion or using the bull's leg. And that's pretty much the Dendera bull telling his biggest secret there. So there's Taurus, there's the main V sort of shape formation, the bull's eye. The leg of the bull is that star formation that is the myth of the leg being severed in the Mithras cult, the severing the leg of the bull and it set it free, and it's that little shape in the heavens, that little constellation shape, and you follow the alignment to find an exoplanet and a sun-like star, which is a real sun-like star, HD 283271. So that's part of it. And then of course there's the Orion's belt following to find that sun-like star. You either use the leg of the bull or following through from Orion's belt through the bull's eye, shooting an arrow through the bull's eye. That is the legend of the arrow and the bull's eye, in my opinion. I'm sure it's pretty obvious that that started it. When you're talking about shooting an arrow at the bull's eye, it's the secret of our human origins. This is exactly what we find on the Narmer tablet, both saying exactly the same thing. But this story repeats itself in many other different details in the 2-hour documentary. You have to see the whole thing, and it'll be in the description link or at the end of the video. It's all about Taurus human origins. We are the descendants of those that founded Atlantis.
We come from the stars. This image you see here might look familiar to you from a fictional Hollywood movie where archaeologists find star maps all over the world and then build a spacecraft to set out to try find them, and they come across bad aliens tied into human history. So there's a real story here. I think it was inspired by my work, and those who own Hollywood, who don't like my grand conclusion that we are all sacred and equal, set out to try and turn it into bad alien agenda because of what's coming. In my work I show in the alien message the human code now, and that the visitors are coming. Okay, so there's the Mars star map, top left hand corner, star computer picture next to it showing the stars that correlate with Mars, Tikal, Maya, exact same thing, small version of the cluster of pyramids you see on the Mars star map. Stonehenge has a cluster, it looks like the leg of the bull for the Pleiades, an ancient Egyptian symbol, follow the leg, and Stonehenge has human code in it, which led me to Atlantis, Pleiades Islands, exactly the same star map. And while I was surveying the area back in just the eve, I think it was the eve of 2012, a 3-mile wide message with the human code and a date and the star map appeared. It's as if they knew I was there, and we're going to look at that now in the updates of the human code geometry. This is pretty much a scholar's version of the human code geometry and how I got it and how it can be tested now. The human blueprint geometry code, discovered in ancient megalithic civilizations, shows who we are and where we come from. We come from the stars. And they use this human code you can see it in the DNM pyramid here, at Tikal, in Stonehenge, in the actual Stonehenge monument itself, and you'll see it at Atlantis. In 2003, my first book went out, The Hidden Records, and I showed how the human code fits using just the Vitruvian Man, and I tested it against my own physical form, comparing the geometry marked up against the wall. The first thing I found with the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci, it isn't really perfect geometry here, the squaring of the circle. And that is now the axis of the circle from the belly button, and the square has a different axis, as you'll see from the male anatomy. Well, that's what I showed in 2003 with the human form, where the Vitruvian Man put his hands in the upright position, touching the circle. I also showed the dimples were exaggerated. Da Vinci shows a normal man, not a bodybuilder muscle man, and these kind of dimples you'll only get in a bodybuilder, and he seems to emphasize them. In my opinion, he's showing he is Orion man with Orion's belt. Well, I took this whole story in 2003 to the UK to promote my book, made big posters of the human geometry found in all the Da Vinci paintings, and things went drastically wrong. I thought it was a coincidence, but one thing after another, after the booking of the Westminster Archives completely failed, the media didn't turn up, there were people in the street telling people to go in a different direction that just appeared out of nowhere. It was a flop. Somebody was interfering. I wanted to know why. Anyway, this is the geometry that I had in those posters that was in the event, how the human code fits with all the most obvious geometry. The 3 windows in the back, I say, are the triptych. 3 portals to the 3 sun-like stars you see in the Grail. Remember, what you saw here was a missing Grail. These are all the clues. You can come back and press pause, follow those geometric lines with the triangulation of the Christ with his forehead, and the human code fits over it. And it's the Grail that is missing. And remember, there's that gap. Dan Brown was quite right. This is the, let's call it the opening, the downward pointing triangle, the vessel, the 3 suns that make the vessel. It wasn't the wife of the Christ that's the Holy Grail. The Grail is a ritual that celebrates the male anatomy rising, the 3 sun-like stars, makes the vessel, sacred feminine Pleiades area, sacred masculine Taurus. Anyway, so I also showed in other paintings as well. I mean, Virgin of the Rocks, very well known. Strange angle here, matching the side of that geometry, looking at the womb of the Christ Mother. Okay, a hand blessing the Christ. But look very closely to this hand. I believe there's another hand that's encoded with the leaves of the plants. 2 eyes, a mouth, very big head of the cherubim, a different kind of angel. Human angel, the grey alien type angels, showing the human code. But this video is not really about all those paintings. It's looking at the actual geometry of the Vitruvian Man. So let's go further into this now. Taking into account that I think this is Orion's belt. That's something I published ages ago. You have the Orion constellation and Da Vinci Man being Orion Man, and the sword of Orion possibly the male anatomy. Take it with a pinch of salt, but that's where I think it's very important that it's all about Orion showing the way. He is the teacher, Orion showing the way to the ancestor stars, making that geometry. Hendrik Cornelius Agrippa. I only highlight this part here that he was part of a very big secret society, and in 1533 published his works on the human code. And this is what he showed. His male anatomy, not shown. However, a cross in the place of the belly button, a cross of Orion. I've shown the cross of the church as Orion in my work, and this is basically a gripper showing that this man is Orion man. Arms in the upper position, legs apart. There is the squaring of the circle. Better geometry. Important also to notice that the arms in the upper position here. Other clues on here: cosmic serpent, the wasp scepter that opens the portal, and the all-seeing eye of creation watching over humanity. So that's basically why I tried the arms in the upper position, to crack that code. But then look at the extra geometry here. It makes the alpha symbol as well. The origin of the alpha symbol, according to scholars, comes from the apis bull, and then it forms this tilted upside down A, which they call the Aleph, which comes, and from my opinion, scholars will not agree with this, that shape you see here with the tilted head of Taurus matching. So what I'm saying is this alpha symbol represents Taurus, a representation symbol for Taurus, because, well, the ancestor stars are right there behind the back of the bull. Human code fits over it, and I'm saying it's all part of the story of Taurus. The bull horns, the ears of the bull, but you see the long pointed bit here? You can see how the bull became interpreted later when they used this geometry in occult secret society. It's more like the bearded goat pointed part. There became a goat head. So this is the Baphomet. 3 sun-like stars, one being birthed. She was demonized to hide a secret. Anybody caught with these papers would be punished, because they didn't want humanity to know the secret of the Baphomet with that geometry. Now I'm going to show you how I use the cube, the perfect hexagonal cube geometry. Up to now I didn't use the flower of life, promoting it, because this flower of life symbol is about to be completely attacked, and chaos added to it, false theory added to it. There's a Hollywood organization that do not like my conclusions showing that all humanity is equal and sacred. They are using that flower of life, and it's going to be made into absolute chaos and fiction. So now I'm going to show you how the flower of life actually fits here, with one very small part where the feet touch the circle. And that is the only important part, if you can call it that, because look, the flower of life is part of the golden mean, the 2/3 ratio, sacred golden mean ratio of the design of all things in the universe. I'm going to show that as well in a few minutes, making the alpha symbol. And the omega is the circle on the outside, the alpha and the omega. This is very important. It's covered in my alpha omega book, how these two symbols, the Taurus alpha and the omega Stargate. If the cosmic visitor that comes in 2027 says he is from the Alpha Omega, he's saying he's from the Taurus Stargate. Okay, let's look closely at the geometry now. Of course, Da Vinci knew about it. There he shows the flower of life. It's the golden mean Fibonacci ratio, and this is in his book called the Codex Atlanticus. Atlanticus? Atlantis? Connection? Possibility? I'm sure. Not by chance. There's a lot more that Da Vinci knew about than scholars have spoken about. Look at that triangle also in there. It's just another clue. The cube is obviously that part there. If you can't see it, there is the cube. The perfect cube from the right angle, the right orientation. And there's a cube inside it, just like the tesseract. We're going to discuss that. Is that a coincidence? Hyper-dimensional time travel. It's tied in with the human code. So let's take the geometry further now. The person that should be credited for this flower of life is the man that I show here, because he actually made a very clear point. Chemistry with atoms and their orbitals, cosmology, the way cosmology is seen with telescopes, and biology all follow this design plan. This is the design plan of creation. But remember, this whole thing is going to be completely filled with chaos and false material. Humanity is going to look at this and laugh at it. So the flower of life is going to be a very small part of my work, and I don't really need it to prove the human code. But anyway, let's use it just to show how it fits. Right, you split both the top and bottom planes of the cube into diagonals, splitting the face in half and then in half again. Join those lines, and we get that. Okay, now here's where it starts getting interesting. We get the inner cube visible now. There's the inner cube, just like I said earlier on, the tesseract, hypercube, a cube within a big cube, right? Now we see there's 2 extra points that I've taken. I didn't even need them because you can complete the geometry without them, but the bottom part of the human form fits those 2 points. It's just full and all the lines to join together now, and you get that human form code fits in there. There it is in its full size. That's where the human form fits, right in the middle, which is the alpha symbol. And the geometry now, you can see it's a large equilateral triangle here and 2 small ones on top. These are 2 90-degree triangles, but here's the interesting part. With the updated geometry that fits better with everything, it's 50 degrees and 40 degrees. That's all that's been basically changed. This is still a general 5-sided figure that human code fits in completely. Whether it's 45 or 50 and 40, it's still that discovery I put forward of these 3 equilateral triangles fitting together and 2 right-angled triangles that I published in 2003. Making those 3 triangles, you can see the equilaterals are blue, and she fits. I've shown the Mona Lisa face. I've put the woman in front of the man, and the man behind, for one simple reason only. The woman has been literally attacked in ancient esoteric history. She's not as important as a man. Well, let's make a point now and put her in front, because it's the combination of male and female. The female is slightly shorter than the male, so the geometry actually works better with the 2 different size averages on statistics for this geometry. And taking the belly button as the point of radius to make that. She's a flame keeper, as you see in the Baphomet geometry, carrying the torch in that position, holding it. But she's also carrying a star in that position in the ancient star maps, like that. The Human Genesis Blueprint Code, found worldwide in a repeating pattern of a defined star map in all ancient civilizations. It solves sun and cosmic bull veneration origins found in ancient history. It shows who we are and where we come from. It shows we come from one of 3 sun-star systems near the Pleiades in the constellation Taurus. There is the new geometry that we've identified now. It's found in Egypt. It's found in Stonehenge and on Mars, the 5-sided pyramid. We're going to look at all those up close. Taking that geometry to the next level. There's the Baphomet, totally understood. When you see the geometry was a good thing. There's nothing destructive or evil about this ancient teaching secret. Story goes in direction now. 2 other places need to be added in here. Vatican City in Rome. The Pope at Orbi, looking out. What did he see at night, midnight? 3, the triangle pointing down, and this triangle pointing up with the 2 brightest stars of Orion through Aldebaran make the triangle pointing to that star right there, and Orion's belt. 3 markers on the ground, 2 obelisks, Egyptian obelisks, and the Castel San Angelo, a star castle. These origins of star castles are very interesting because some of them predate general history. That we'd like to think that it was something built later, but some of them are thousands of years old. And this one in Italy, in my opinion, is one of those. 7 Hills of Rome, the Chi-Rho X, Orion, male anatomy showing the way. This is the view for the Pope. Okay, the Grail is literally being that part of the cosmos. The male anatomy, the bottom part of the Grail ritual, is Orion. So celebrating the birthing of a disk, sun disk, that one there, is performed while looking east with this ritual to teach and remember our sacred origins, in my opinion. Looking at the Vatican from above, there's the Castel San Angelo, the Star Fortress, Popolo Obelisk, Pantheon Obelisk, the 7 hills of Rome. Were they chosen to build this ancient site that became Vatican City to show as above, so below? Vatican, it looks like a key, a golden key when illuminated at night. That is the key of Solomon, which is also that star map. In my 2-hour documentary, you'll see it all. Here's the correlation. I'm not going to go too much into that right now. But here it is. Here is the Castel San Angelo. And this was once a very large star fortress. Looking at it from above with Google Earth, I've tidied up a little bit of the shadows here so you can see what's going on. Yes, very basically, she fits. The embankment of that 5-sided fortress was way more advanced. If you look at the old images in this inserted picture, the edges of that star castle were very, very, very enhanced. Star Map Egypt, I've shown 50 pyramids matching a group of stars in one full sweep of the cosmos. Strangely, coincidentally, one of the star shafts of the Great Pyramid aligns with all of these stars, all in one 360-degree sweep for a full rotation of the Earth, when the Earth aligned with the old pole area, which was in the area of the Big Dipper. All of these are represented on the ground with pyramids. My 2-hour documentary will show exactly everything. And we have the exit marks the spot, the Sun Temple shown in the middle of the star map. We would expect that, equidistant gaps. And we have Giza being the place where the human code is found. Right there. Looking now at the pyramids in Giza, the Sphinx I've ringed, the Kenkhouse Pyramid I've ringed. The most important geometry was the corners of the 3 pyramids. That is, without doubt, the most important geometric line that scholars say is more important than any of the other proposed geometry. That was number 1. Number 2, that would follow with that corner as well, pretty much identical. They're nearly the same size with the casing stones, but pretty much the same parallel line. Now look at the Sphinx and Kenkhouse. That is parallel, and their positions are very important. There's a center line splitting through the middle of the 2. They're all fit very geometrically, very neatly, making that geometry and the human form. She dwells here. The Orion man, the Orion human code showing the way. Now look at the strange thing where the line is above the shoulders, showing the way in the cosmos to the ancestor star. Just like the Senma tomb, now we can see Orion man here as Horus Sokar. Look at this odd rod showing the way above his shoulders. Now we can understand it. There's Pleiades, follow the leg of the bull, stars of Atlas Pleione. There is a sun of the night. It's shown as a night scene with stars. And we have the sun symbol. And strangely enough, it's Isis Serket with a Scorpio position showing our sun resides in Scorpio. All of that is in the 2-hour documentary. I don't want to go too much into that. The Indus civilization is exactly what we find on Mars. Pleiades, Orion showing the way, a deity riding the back of the cosmic dragon, lion, tree of life, the title for the cosmic lion with a deity holding a serpent. All of this is in the 2-hour documentary, but the important part is how it fits with the Mars story. Now we look at the Mars star map. There's the DNA pyramid on the nose of the cosmic lion dragon, 2 eyes, mouth. The Mars faces in that position, Pleiades up here, there's an extra sun position. So we have these 3 suns correlating, Pleiades correlating very, very accurately. And Taurus and Orion is here. Look at the back of this lion, there's geometric shapes here, just like that human form code, alright? Orion code showing the way, but this is the most important part to prove the human code, and we're going to look at that now. That's what it once looked like when Mars was once a green area. This, by the way, is the edge of an ocean, like a beachfront property area. There's the story of Orion on the back of the lion. There's many depictions I'll show in my 2-hour documentary of the lion with with Orion on its back, and then of course in this one shows 7 stars and the lion on the nose tip. Yep, cosmic conduit opening to the sun-like star. That is the mouth of the cosmic lion dragon, making that. So there's the area that we're looking at now, just the Sidonian area with the Mars face, 5-sided pyramid, and the correlations. Absolutely amazing. That's part of the 2-hour documentary. We'll go in that later. The Mars face with an eye. This is the geometry that I studied in my book and showed that it is very symmetrical. And this image I made well known from 2003 in my first book. It's simply a computer data overlay of the Viking image with the newer, later scans showing the detail of the eye. And of course the 5-sided pyramid. Does she fit there? Absolutely. Just as expected. And if that's the case, it's saying human form evolved here. Then the Mars face is up in this direction. This actually points as a pointer to the Mars face. Let's go back. The human form points to the Mars face. Okay, humans originating, evolving from apes in this area, colonized the sun-like star area, which is Sol 1, and we are the descendants of those people that came and colonized our solar system. That's why they make that one the main one with the human face. Star map Stonehenge, Pleiades, Winterbourne Stoke Barrows. That is the area we're going to test now because the human code dwells here. That's the one I published in 2003, the geometry with the Vitruvian Man version, looking at the different positions of sun and moon risings, all very neat causeways down this way, and that geometry we're looking at. Right, the human geometry in Stonehenge. This is what it looked like in the 1920s. This area in the middle here, a little bit of repair work done, they restored it to that. If they were to restore it further, it would look like this. There's the very controversial Scottish origin alto stone, and we have the tallest one is this trilithon and this horseshoe shape. Let's take that further to prove that. First of all, take that geometry. Scholars have made this geometry. You'll see this one is slightly lower down than I would prefer. I bet these two are exactly level. But anyway, we're taking their geometry, split it into 4 quadrants to find the center. There's the center point. Now we take the center points of the 3 big trilithons. There's the very large one and the 2 that are next to it, and take those lines through each other to the outer circle. Okay, I'm taking it to the inner circle here for a reason you'll see in a minute. And then of course take those lines from the circle back through another trilithon into this extended geometry. So it's just following on with that geometry. Now we can have a bottom line here where it touches the bottom of this trilithon. Not perfect in my opinion, because we're not really using these 2 trilithons down here yet. There is the geometry in the middle. She fits. Cosmic human code fits Stonehenge, but then they don't use this one in this particular geometry. There's another story using these 2 trilithons with the others, all 5, and it creates this. This was in my book in 2003. If you take now from the belly button through the middle like we did just now, but now where it touches the edge of the circle, go along now the outer edges of the trilithons to make these lines on the outer edges of the trilithons, and then back through here we have a star pattern being formed where Orion Man is the star god, the star deity, so to speak. It came from the stars, and then the causeway is this beam of light that comes from it, the origin of the Christmas tree. The message, we came from the stars, and X marks the spot. This correlates with the sun-like star Sol 1 primary. So this is what I published in 2003, the very simplified Egyptian story, the Mars story, measuring a grid pattern, human face, human code, and of course in Stonehenge. So that's something that I made well known in 2003. What about the rest of the story? The story goes in the direction of discovering Atlantis. I found the Pleiades Islands in the Atlantic Ocean, on the ocean bed. I found out that Spain and Portugal was once in a different position, and when it was near these islands, the X that marks the spot can be calculated, and it's there. The Dendera wetlands has the remains of the two main circular canals. That's all in the 2-hour documentary, and I'm showing the old shape and the fingerprint of these rivers, and it's all here. The mines are here, everything is here. But while I was surveying the area, you see this little bit here in the middle of this main part of the river area, there's the geometric code, the geoglyph, I call it the Atlantis geoglyph, all in the 2-hour documentary. Here's one of them. There's the star map. I've shown a star program. There's a nebula that fits this correlation with the swastika, and yep, it is exactly 2 units on the let's call it the grid pattern here that we see that they chose for the fields. The fields make out a grid pattern. They chose it for that reason. It explains the tilt. The tilt is pretty much a match. So that's all in the 2-hour documentary, but it's the human code that follows from here. There's the perfect analysis of the star map. That it's 2 units to follow from Orion to find that sun-like star Pleiades. So there it is. That's what it looked like. This was one of the last satellite images of it. Shows it is visible. But now there's a new one that's come out, and I'm waiting for updates. This is one that's been sent to me, showing how this whole area has flooded. And you'll notice those little dots are not visible here. That's the area that I say we should look for, the filled-in part of the original 2 canals, because we have that pattern showing that it was once similar to that shape as Atlantis. That's what it looked like just before the heavy rains. The zooplankton theory that it was made by humans to breed zooplankton, the scholars' first argument was they're too shallow and it's in a floodplain, the next big rains that'll all be destroyed. And of course the authorities said no, they spent a lot to build these. I mean, it would have cost millions to make it, to study sea monkeys, zooplankton. Really? Well, it seems to have gone. It lasted 12 years during the drought, as if the ancients knew when they put it there that it would be visible for 12 years. We've got 12 years to make sense of it. But it's now gone. Looking at that area, that's the size of the field area. I need to look closely at the field outline. There it is there. I've extended, there's the grid pattern type layouts of these fields that make that shape. And then I've extended one down here just to show the extended geometry, but we don't really need it. It actually manages quite well with just the field. So if you take just the field, which is that area there, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units of these elongated rectangle grid pattern, and then equal 5 and 5 to split it up into half. And when you do that, it goes through one of the main X that marks the spot. It has Orion rising on the horizon with the X that marks the spot, and this is Orion sitting on the horizon, showing it twice. But we're taking this one now, okay, and it goes through part of the message. This decodes as a computer message in the 2-hour documentary, but it goes through that one as well. So we have 2 markers in green circles being covered to split the fields into half. So what we expect to appear in the middle here is special geometry. So there's the center line going through. Now we can show these 2 at the bottom here that are level. Join that line. Then we have this like long cross effect. We can take now from the bottom one, and we can also take going through these 2 markers, almost going through the middle of that one, and going along the same corner again. It goes along the edge because of the orientations. Remember, those orientations are shown because of rising and setting of Orion. So this very artistic way of showing it, but it's now taking those ellipses into account through that geometry. Taking the most important one, the X that marks the spot now, and take that geometry through where it touches the field, back through, you can see now, and doing the same thing now where it touches the circle, through the center point. We get that shape. Now we have the extra little message ellipse now that's circled. It makes the line going across through the middle of it horizontally. She dwells here. The human code is in the alien message. They're showing who we are and where we come from. That we are tied into their history, they are tied into our history. And they are coming in 2027 as you decode this, as you see in the 2-hour documentary. It's all there. Showing the Baphomet is not a coincidence. That is the human geometry teaching. We've seen it in all these different arrangements. Now we can add Castel San Angelo with it and Atlantis. It's time to prepare for the return of the ancients.
With the earlier Sumerian clay tablets' precise version of the cosmic human origin star map, and how it matched the template at Stonehenge, would come the mindset that had Herschel set out to search the Atlantic Ocean seabed. It would be this clue that would culminate in this documentary's biggest revelation.
As the world was counting down to 2012, I was watching Google Earth, looking for ruins, refreshed my page, and I saw that. I recognized that curvature from somewhere. This could be a computer code. I think it's first contact. The ancients are returning. I've published a book, Herschel's Atlantis, and there's a 2-hour documentary you'll see at the end of the video. These are my 3 books. I'm trying to promote Saving Forests, $19 for all 3, 1 delivery. Please consider becoming a flamekeeper in the here and now, or when you are gone, or as an activist. Please press pause and come back to this and you'll see the detail. But as a flamekeeper, you become part of the quest to secure the interpretational copyright and visibility of the hidden records. That is the difference.